Hi, I'm Ann from Annie and Everything, and welcome to another episode. Today, what we are going to do is talk about the college application timeline. We just spent 3 weeks with Pat Wesolowski from Bryan College, chatting with her about lots of different aspects of getting ready for college, applying to college, scholarships, and all of that good stuff. But we never really talked about exactly what to do when. So I thought we could do that this week. Here's the thing. The college search process is a lot easier when your kid has decided on a major. So that becomes the thing that kind of spearheads the whole rest of the thing. If they don't know what they want to do, then they could literally go anywhere and be undeclared as a major. But you prefer to send them to a college that has the major they're interested in studying. When you don't require them to pick something before going to college, then you're kind of flying blind. Yes, kids can go to college without having declared a major, and they can take all of their general ed courses, but it is a pretty expensive way to get those gen ed courses when you don't even know if they'll be able to stay at that college because whatever they decide might not even be at that college. So it's totally helpful for the kid to figure something out, even if it's a broad category, before trying to look for schools. So that would mean that if they could narrow that down, I'm going to say by the end of sophomore year, that would be the best thing. It's hard to do, I know. And so then you might think if your kid is unable to narrow that down at that point in time, you might start thinking about doing a gap year or going to community college first for the gen eds rather than doing the all-out college. Oh my goodness, we must find the 4-year university that she's going to love. No, maybe if your kid is unable to settle on something that they want to pursue, then you might want to postpone that whole thing for a little while until they've got that figured out. There are great tools to help with that. There are career exploration courses like the one that Seven Sisters does. I'll leave a link to that in the show notes. I also know a really good service for deciding what your kid would succeed best at. One of those places where your kid fills out a questionnaire and then gets the results back and gets one-on-one counseling. That is called My Ideal College. And while it is a career determining service, it also then counsels your kid through the college search process so that they can find the place that will be the best fit for them based on what they determined they wanted to study through the questionnaires. So that is a great service. I'll also put a link to that in the comments. Another way is just to try to expose your kid to as much as you can of what they've expressed an interest in at any given time. Sign them up for activities and exploration and job shadowing so that they can begin to understand what different jobs will entail so that they can begin to say, nope, not interested in that anymore. Oh, but this might be interesting. Try if you can to get all of those things happening before sophomore year so that they do have time to explore those things, do the research, do the reading, whatever it takes to figure out what they might want to pursue. And then you can start there with the college search. There are a few other factors you might want to consider, like how far away you want them to be from home, how much it's going to cost. There's a website called Big Future that has a bunch of different filters you can put in for all of those different aspects of things to consider about what kind of college to go to. And then it will spit back at you all the colleges that meet those parameters. We've been through that filtration system many times with many different parameters, changing this, changing that to see what comes forward. This is just preliminary, but this is the type of thing that you'll start to do then through junior year, is going on sites like Big Future, and also there's another one called niche.com, niche.com. Links to both of those will be in the show notes. Both of those sites will help you narrow down that college search. Do take any reviews with a grain of salt. People that write reviews for sites like this tend to be either super enthusiastic or super against it. Most of the time, you'll find that those reviews are only somewhat accurate. Don't let any kind of grade score or whatever on those sites detract from you investigating that college further. So that's the college search. You want that to be happening throughout junior year so that by the end of junior year, your kid is ready to pick 3 to 5 colleges that they want to apply to. Now, you could choose more than that. Many are waiving them now, but some colleges do still have an application fee. So there's that to consider with how many you want to apply to. Just be narrowing it down at the end of junior year so that over the summer before senior year and during the fall of senior year, you can actually be filling out applications and sending them in. Now, the ACT and SAT and CLT have to be happening here too, right? So those you could start, I would say spring of sophomore year is a great time to take it for the first time, just as a, hey, get your feet wet. Let's experience this and let's just use it as a baseline to find out what we need to improve on, what we need to study better, what we need to do some more test prep on. Then junior year becomes the year when you really kind of go hot and heavy on those tests, taking them as many times as you can. And then senior year, you've got one last shot, maybe fall of senior year, to just improve that score that much more. Usually, though, if you're applying in the fall of senior year, they're going to be considering your earlier test scores when it comes to acceptance. Now, for scholarships, some schools will still take later test scores to evaluate you for scholarships. It just depends on the school. I was really surprised by one school that we were applying to this past summer that said you can improve your scores at any time, even after you've been accepted, to increase your scholarship award. And so that was pretty exciting. I had never heard of that before. I don't know if that's rare or if that's become more common now. So just to recap what we've gone over so far, we're going to be starting the standardized tests probably spring of sophomore year at the earliest. Definitely get them really going in junior year. Then another thing that's going to be happening and hopefully mostly done by spring of sophomore year is going to be that search for a major, so that junior year we can dedicate that to the college search, because there's a ton of colleges out there. You'd be surprised. Now, granted, if they haven't figured out a major until fall of junior year, it's not a big deal. These are very general time frames, just from my experience, what's going to work easiest and give you the least amount of pressure when it comes to all of this. So again, then junior year is the college search process, so that by the end of junior year, you've got it narrowed down to 3 or 5 that you want to apply to. And then you start creating the applications over the summer, into the fall, sometimes even into spring of senior year. Another thing that will happen in the fall of senior year, anytime after October 1st, could move into the spring of senior year, depending upon how you're doing, would be filling out the Fafsa. So the Fafsa stands for something, I don't know, federal something, financial aid something, financial aid federal something, I don't even know. This is a form you need to fill out that is on a federal website. Studentloans.org is what I think it is now. You'll go to there. You'll have to make yourself a PIN, and then you will fill out this form, which asks all sorts of financial questions, including checking with the IRS for what your taxes have been. Your teen can fill this out, but I'll be honest with you and say that I, as the parent, filled it out and had the teen do what was necessary in there. But for the most part, I did not leave that up to the teen completely. I generally just did that. You do have to fill it out each and every year, even after they're in college. And it was just less stressful for me to take care of that than it was to try to supervise them through that. That is definitely your call either way. But again, that's going to happen anytime after October 1st of senior year. The earlier you get that in, the better, just because colleges are waiting to receive that to determine any other financial aid that you might be eligible for. And don't not fill it out. I think it would be silly not to fill it out. You never know what they might come up with as far as what they can give you. And even if you think you're making way too much money, most colleges that I'm aware of still actually require that FAFSA to be filled out before they can send any kind of financial package to you. So do fill it out. It's a hassle, it's a pain, but it's something we all have to do. Now, speaking of all of this financial aid stuff, I do want to take a moment and talk about a curriculum that I've become familiar with recently that's going to help make all of these financial decisions. And that is a curriculum called Personal Finance Illustrated. This curriculum is new on the personal finance curriculum scene. We've heard about all the rest. This one is new, and this one is bigger and better than anything that has gone before. Personal Finance Illustrated is built around a picture, literally a picture, something that your teen can look at and understand how finances work with one another. It's a picture of the entire financial life of an individual. Money coming in, money going out, savings, taxes, investments, buying a house, all of that is part of this picture. And your teen can manipulate this picture via software to see the cause and effect of what they do with their money. It's a real low pressure way to find out, hey, if I did this, then this is going to happen. And you're not dealing with actual dollars, but you can put them in and find out what would happen. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of good wisdom. It's not a step-by-step plan. It is more just the imparting of financial wisdom with this model in mind, so that your kid can have an enduring understanding of how finances work through the rest of their lives. So that as they make decisions going forward, and even after they're 40 years old, they'll have this picture in their head and they'll understand exactly what those decisions are going to do for them or not do, or how they're going to affect them in the long term. I am so impressed with this curriculum. It comes with video, it comes with quizzes, it comes with papers to write, it comes with all sorts of interactive tools where you plug in numbers and other things come out. It's really a fantastic curriculum. I highly advise you take a look at it. It would be a great elective credit. You could either do a half credit or a whole credit for your teen. It also comes in a secular version and a biblically based version, so you can choose from either one of those. Highly recommend it, so I'm going to put a link for that in the show notes. This episode was sponsored by Personal Finance Illustrated, so I would just, again, highly recommend that you check it out. Now, back to our discussion about the college application timeline. Anytime after you put in those applications, you may or may not receive an acceptance. Sometimes it happens very quickly, sometimes it takes a little longer. With the acceptance, though, typically you'll receive whatever merit scholarships they're going to offer. At least in our case, every time there was an acceptance letter in the mail, there was also a certificate or some other notification that said you've been awarded this amount of scholarship money based on your test scores or your GPA. So this is not sports scholarship money. This is not financial aid in terms of, work study or loans. This is actual merit scholarships. In my experience, they've always come back with the acceptance, which is another reason to get applications in fairly early, because many schools run out of money that they've promised to all these students who have applied. And so then if you're getting your application in not until January, February, March, April of senior year, they've already promised a lot of money to kids in the fall who then have not yet committed to whether they're going to that college or not. Which means that they're thinking by the time you're applying in January, February, or March, that they don't have, if all of these kids accept, then they're not going to have that much left for you. So it does tend to go down the longer you wait to apply. Just something to keep in mind. So then, once you get these acceptances and possibly the merit scholarship awards, then it's time to decide which one you want to go to. So if you've applied to 3 to 5 and you've got accepted by most of them, if not all, one of the best ways to determine which college you actually want to go to is to do a college tour. I don't recommend doing college tours before applying. To me, that's a lot of expense because there are tons of colleges out there. And if you visit every single one that you're even possibly thinking about in order to narrow down to make the application, you're going to spend a lot of money. No, you can do so much narrowing down just by viewing pictures online. You don't need to go visit the college to narrow down to the ones you want to apply to. But then you could use the college visit as the way to pick the one you actually want to commit to. So I recommend not making a college visit until after you've been accepted. And also, many colleges these days do have scholarship events that are open only to kids who have been accepted. You have to go to the campus, you have to compete to get more money. And why then already have gone to the campus earlier when you know there's the potential that you might be able to go for one of these competitions? That works as a college visit too, and you'll see everything you need to see then, and that might help you make your decision. So you've figured out what your kid wants to major in, you've taken the standardized tests, you've done a college search, you've applied to a few colleges, you've gotten accepted to hopefully all of them, but certainly at least some of them. You've gone on college visits, perhaps a scholarship event that is going to help increase the amount of money the college is giving you. Then you do have to make the final decision. There's one more thing that happens though, and that is your financial aid package. If you have submitted your Fafsa by the deadline, Fafsa. If you have submitted your Fafsa, it's a commonly mispronounced word, not gonna lie. Fafsa, Fafsa, Fafsa. Say that 5 times fast. If you have submitted your Fafsa in time, the college does generally have a deadline, and you've submitted yours in time, then they will take a look at all of the factors. They're going to take a look at the scholarships you've been awarded. They're going to take a look at your FAFSA and what it says you can afford to pay, which is never the right number. Just it is what it is. They're going to look at the possibility of loans. They're going to look at the possibility of work study and grants and all of those good things. And then they're going to put it all on a piece of paper and send it to you, and so that you can know exactly what they can do for you and what you have to come up with for your kid, or what your kid has to come up with for themselves. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it seems like there's a huge difference between what they can do for you and then what you need to come up with is still a large amount. Those financial aid packages generally arrive sometime spring of senior year so that you can then make a decision, and they're going to have some deadlines there too. They're going to say you need to let us know by such and such a date so that you can get priority dorm placement or whatever that might be. So keep an eye on these deadlines as you receive this information. After you've gotten all the financial aid packages from all the various schools that you've applied to and been accepted to and toured, now it's time to just say, okay, we're going to do this one. And then you commit to that one. You tell all the others, sorry, not happening. And then you can start buying your stuff and your merch that has that college name on it, right? And that's the fun part. And then it's time to start thinking about what you're going to need to purchase for college. And often colleges will have a freshman orientation. So this is for the kids who have committed to going to that college for freshman year. Sometime over the summer, they might, of course, things are different now, but hopefully we'll get more back to normal. Sometime over the summer, they might have a visitation day or orientation program, even staying overnight in the dorms for the incoming freshmen. And that is always a good thing to make sure that you get your teen to. Often they will pick their first semester schedule there with the guidance of their advisor. And so it's a good thing rather than having to figure that out all on their own. There's usually a deposit for the dorm, and then you're going to start getting information about what the dorm room is or what type of room it might be. The roommate information is always fun to receive, and then your teen can start interacting with the roommate, and girls are going to talk about colors for their dorm room, and guys are going to talk about which video games they're going to bring, right? But that's always a lot of fun. And then sometime in August, most likely, some of them put it off till September, but you're going to take your kid to that school and drop them off. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything, and if I have, it can't be anything too incredibly important. If you have any questions, by all means, leave a comment on the podcast show page. take a look at those show notes. Take a look at Personal Finance Illustrated. I think you'll be glad you did. And come back next week. Thanks for being here.